Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm really glad you're here with us today because we are doing something completely different.
Yeah, this one it's really a unique structural puzzle.
It is. Usually when we prepare for these sessions, we're staring down a mountain of information. We sift through massive research papers, sprawling articles, or entire books.
Right, trying to distill all that dense material into something you can actually use in your day-to-day life.
Exactly. But today, the source material you've shared with us is highly unusual. It's short. And when I say short, I mean microscopic.
Very short.
We're looking at an excerpt titled The Control Freak's Punchline, and it is exactly 3 lines long, 20 words in total.
That's it, just 20 words.
Yeah, I was reading this over coffee this morning, and I realized this tiny, seemingly throwaway piece of text is a masterclass in conversational dynamics.
It really is.
It subverts all of your expectations in a fraction of a second. It promises an aha moment about how power and personality can be conveyed in just a handful of words. So I'm going to read the entire source text for you right now, straight through. Ready?
Let's hear it.
Here it is. Knock, knock. Now you say, quote, "Who's there?" unquote. The second line is just, quote, "Who's there?" unquote, followed by 3 little dots indicating a trailing off.
Right.
And the third line is control freak. Now you say, quote, "Control freak who?" unquote. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yes.
Because there is an entire universe of human psychology packed into those 20 words. We're going to put this micro-interaction under a microscope to figure out exactly what makes it so strangely funny and, frankly, deeply uncomfortable.
It really is a cunning piece of compression. When you look at those 3 lines, you aren't just looking at a joke. You're looking at a hostile takeover of a conversation.
A hostile takeover. I love that phrase.
Because knock-knock jokes are built on a rigid, rhythmic social contract. We all know the beat. We learn it when we're kids. What's fascinating here is how the author weaponizes that exact rhythm against the listener.
Weaponizing the rhythm. Okay, but is it really a hostile takeover, or are they just skipping a step? I mean, people rush through jokes all the time when they're excited to get to the punchline.
Rushing through a joke would look very different. If they were just excited, they might say, knock, knock, who's there? Control freak, and just play both parts themselves in a rush.
Right, just steamrolling through it.
Exactly. But that is not what's happening here.
Yeah.
The key is in that directorial command. Now you say, they aren't bypassing the other person. They are explicitly demanding the other person's verbal compliance.
They're forcing you to speak.
Yes, forcing you to speak, but only the exact words they've assigned to you.
That distinction makes a lot of sense. It creates this sudden cognitive dissonance because your brain hears knock, knock, and it automatically cues up your standard response.
Yeah.
You're completely ready to say, "Who's there?" naturally.
It's instinctual.
Right. But before your brain can even execute that standard script, the first speaker dictates the script to you.
Precisely. And that dictates a sudden shift in the power dynamic. In a normal interaction, the call and response relies on mutual participation.
A collaboration.
Right, a collaboration. The first person initiates, but they depend entirely on the second person volunteering to play along. This text removes that voluntary aspect entirely.
They just delete consent from the equation.
Exactly. The joke teller refuses to wait for the natural rhythm of human interaction. They aren't asking for participation. They are demanding obedience.
Now, I want you to imagine being on the receiving end of this. Think about how jarring this would be by the office coffee machine.
Oh, incredibly awkward.
You're stripped of your conversational agency and handed a script. You instantly feel your back go up, right?
Nobody likes having words put in their mouth.
Especially for something as trivial as a children's joke format. It's a micromanagement of the most basic mechanics of dialogue.
And notice the pacing implied by the typography itself. There's no line break between knock knock and now you say.
Right. It's all one breath.
It's written as a single, uninterrupted stream of thought. Knock knock, period. Now you say. The first speaker is bulldozing right through the anticipated pause.
They don't even let you take a breath.
No, they aren't even giving the second speaker the physical time to process the first 2 words before hitting them with the command.
It's like they're sealing off the exits before you even realize you're in a room.
That's a great way to put it.
Which makes the second speaker's response the most compelling part of this text for me. Despite the aggressive micromanagement, they actually say it.
They do.
The script reads, "Who's there?" But let's look at the punctuation there. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's not just a pause, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
The punctuation is the unsung hero of this entire piece. If we look closely at the formatting, the second speaker's line is enclosed in single quotes.
Unlike the first speaker's double quotes.
Right. And crucially, it ends with those three little dots we mentioned earlier. That specific punctuation carries an immense amount of emotional weight.
Let's focus on those single quotes first. Why single quotes? Visually, it almost makes the text look smaller on the page.
That is a fantastic observation. In standard formatting, single quotes are often used for a quote within a quote.
Ah.
It subtly implies that the second speaker isn't generating their own dialogue. They are merely echoing the dialogue that was just assigned to them.
So they aren't speaking, they're reciting.
Exactly. But visually, as you pointed out, it feels diminished. You have the forceful, double-quoted, commanding energy of the first speaker, taking up all the space loudly.
Yeah.
And then you have the second speaker squeezed into these delicate little single quotes. The typography literally mirrors the power dynamic.
Wow. And then we hit those three trailing dots, the audio equivalent of a blank stare.
That's a perfect way to describe it, a blank stare. In written dialogue, those dots often represent a trailing off, a hesitation, or profound confusion. In this specific context, it signifies deeply reluctant compliance. The second speaker is participating. They're saying the words they were ordered to say, but all the energy usually associated with a joke has been entirely drained out.
I can hear the flat, deadpan delivery in my head.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not a jaunty who's there. It's a drawn-out, monotone who's there.
Just completely lifeless.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the second speaker has been fully reduced to an unwilling actor in someone else's play, they aren't a collaborator anymore. They're a hostage.
Is hostage the word you'd use?
Is hostage too strong a word, though? Let's challenge that for a second. Couldn't the second person just walk away?
I mean, physically, yes.
If someone walks up to you and says, knock, knock, now you say, who's there? You could just say no and leave. Why do they comply?
That is the core of the politeness trap.
The politeness trap.
Yes. Technically, they could walk away.
Yeah.
But human beings are heavily conditioned by social norms. Walking away or saying I'm not doing this introduces a massive amount of social friction.
And most people hate social friction.
Exactly. The first speaker is using the camouflage of a lighthearted joke. If you refuse to say, who's there, you risk looking like a killjoy.
You become the problem.
Right. You look like someone who is humorless or overly sensitive.
Ah, I see. It's a catch-22.
Very much so.
If you refuse to play along, you're the bad guy for ruining a joke. But if you do play along, you're submitting to their control. The cost of rebellion is higher than the cost of compliance, at least in that micro moment.
Exactly. Those three trailing dots represent that mental calculus happening in real time.
And doing the math in their head.
Yes. It's the sound of someone realizing they are trapped in a deeply annoying situation, quickly weighing their options and deciding that fighting it would require way more energy than just delivering the three words.
It is a verbal sigh.
A verbal sigh is exactly what it is.
It's remarkably manipulative for a 20-word interaction. The first speaker has weaponized social politeness to force compliance. And once they secure that reluctant compliance, they spring the trap. That leads us directly into the final line of the excerpt, which delivers the ultimate payoff.
Here we go.
The first speaker returns and says, "Control freak." Now you say, quote, "Control freak who?" unquote.
The meta punchline.
Yes, the sheer absurdity of it. The joke teller literally identifies themselves as a control freak.
They say the quiet part out loud.
They aren't trying to trick you with a clever pun. The punchline is just a factual statement of what is currently happening to you.
It's highly efficient.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the title of your excerpt, The Control Freak's Punchline, tells us everything we need to know from the very beginning.
How so?
This is a classic example of the medium being the message. The content of the joke and the execution of the joke are identical.
Oh, wow.
The joke isn't about a control freak. The joke is the act of being a control freak.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at the mechanics of what just happened in these three sentences, we see a completely closed loop.
A very tight loop.
The joke teller has entirely eliminated the need for the other person's natural input. They're effectively playing both roles. They are the director, the lead actor, and the scriptwriter.
And they are brazen about it. The humor, if you can even call it that, derives entirely from the audacity of the first speaker breaking the fourth wall of the interaction.
Totally breaking the fourth wall.
They are openly announcing their neurosis while simultaneously forcing you to participate in it. It's an incredible display of asserting dominance.
But let's look at that dominance for a second by saying, now you say control freak who, they are setting up the exact same trap a second time.
Right back to square one.
We don't get to see the second speaker's response to this final line in the text. The excerpt just ends right there. What do you think happens next?
Well, the text leaves it ambiguous on purpose, I think.
Hmm.
But structurally, it implies an endless loop.
An endless loop.
Yes. The first speaker has established a pattern of behavior that they clearly intend to maintain. They've successfully forced compliance once. They have no reason to believe they can't force it again.
It's almost suffocating when you think about it. You just know the second speaker is standing there, staring blankly, realizing that the only way to escape the interaction is to finally break that politeness trap we talked about earlier.
It forces a confrontation. The first speaker is essentially testing boundaries.
Pushing to see what happens.
How far can I push this person before they snap? Can I control their words, their timing, and their reactions, all while using the framework of a children's joke so they can't easily accuse me of being aggressive?
That's insidious.
It's a very safe way for the first speaker to exercise authority.
Because if the second person finally gets mad and says, "Stop telling you what to say," the first person can just throw their hands up and say, "Whoa, relax."
Exactly.
It's just a knock-knock joke. Why are you taking it so seriously?
It provides complete plausible deniability. The structural format of the joke acts as a shield against criticism. The control freak gets to dictate the entire conversation, and if the victim complains, the victim looks like the unreasonable one.
That is a staggering amount of subtext for 3 lines of dialogue.
It really is.
It really is a stark reminder of how much goes unsaid in the everyday scripts we follow blindly.
The scripts we don't even notice.
Right. We go through our days engaging in these little dances. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? And we rarely think about the structure of those interactions until someone deliberately breaks them.
And people do break them, often in very subtle ways. We all encounter mild versions of the control freak in our own lives.
Oh, for sure.
People who finish our sentences for us, people who steer every topic back to their pre-planned talking points, or people who ask a question but clearly only want to hear a specific answer.
Right. Like when someone says, "You're going to love this movie," right? They are actually asking for your opinion.
Not at all.
They are assigning you an opinion.
This raises an important question for all of us regarding our own daily interactions. It prompts us to pay closer attention to the mechanics of the conversations we participate in.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Yes. Who is asking the questions? Who is dictating the pacing? Who is leaving room for genuine responses? And who is simply waiting for you to deliver the line they've already written for you in their head?
It's funny how a 20-word joke can make you completely reevaluate your last 5 conversations.
Absolutely.
You start wondering, wait, was I the control freak in that meeting? Did I actually let anyone else speak, or was I just handing out scripts?
Self-reflection is certainly one of the byproducts of reading something this concentrated. When you strip away all the filler of normal conversation, the underlying power dynamics become glaringly obvious.
You can't unsee it.
No, you can't. This excerpt just takes common human behavior and amplifies it to a satirical extreme.
It holds a very tiny, very sharp mirror up to how we communicate. Which leaves me with a final thought I want you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
Let's hear it.
Consider the control freak in this text. Think about their true motivation. Is the joke itself even important to them? Does it matter what the punchline actually is? Or could it have been any joke in the world?
That's a great point.
Or is the format of the joke simply a convenient, socially acceptable vehicle to exercise absolute authority over another human being? It makes you wonder if it's ever really about the content of the conversation at all, or if it's always just about who holds the pen that writes the script.
A chilling thought, honestly.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly concentrated micro deep dive today. It has been a total blast unpacking this tiny treasure trove of subtext with you. Until our next exploration, stay curious and maybe watch out for anyone who tries to feed you your lines. Take care.